All right, welcome to Dvar Leah Torah class. And this week we are going to discuss about Nidarim, promises. This week's parsha is two parshas actually together, Matos and Masei. It's actually very large, long. Both are long parshas. I'll say can't say certainly, but almost sure it's probably the longest reading of the year because both parshas together are both long parshas. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the longest parsha that we read during the year. Lots and lots of topics in this week's parsha, but let's focus on the beginning of parshos Matos, which talks about people make a neder, a promise, okay, and there is, if a person makes a promise, says something, then he has to keep to his word. As we are very well aware, words are not just nothing. Words don't just come and go. Words actually have an effect. And with today's technology, that can be you speak, it's not just come and gone. It can be recorded. It's there. Now with recording and everything, words are there forever, right? It doesn't just go. So one has to be very careful what they say, because it has an effect. But anyway, this week's parasha, person makes an oath, then they can. I won't say. Yeah, I won't say a promise, a neder. If someone makes such a thing, they can actually get it removed from themselves. Okay, how can they get it removed? There's three different ways how one can annul their promise. Okay, yeah, the promise. Three different ways. If it's a girl, a female, she's if she's a very young child, let's say under 12, then whatever she says is. She's a child. It's not. Of course, you have to teach a child careful, but it doesn't have that responsibility. If it's between 12 and 12 and a half years old, then the father has the right to annul her promise. If she's married, then her husband can take away annul the promise for her. Okay, what happens if it's a man makes a promise? So he can go two ways. Either he can go to a great scholar, a chacham, and he can explain his annulment, and then they'll ask a question. Hey, wait, you made this promise, and if you would have known, let's say, for example, someone makes a promise, I'm not going to drink wine, and then he regrets it. He goes to the rabbi, wants to take away his promise. So then he says, well, if you would have made a promise, you would have known that you cannot make kiddush, or you won't be able to do this mitzvah, you won't do that mitzvah, you won't be able to have wine by Farbrengen or something. Oh, they never made that promise. All right, your promise is over, and that's all right. And if there's no chacham, then you go you don't need to go to a chacham. You go to three regular people, and they can you do the same thing, and you can they'll question you and find a way out, and then they'll take away the promise as if you never made a promise to begin with. All right, that's just basic laws of making a promise. Now, interesting thing is like this, that it says in Mishnah, actually, in the Perkei Avot, we learn in the summertime, chapter 3, that siyag la nadarim siyag la parshas. If someone makes a promise, it's a siyag, it's like a gate to be separated from stuff in the world. Seemingly it's a good thing. Okay, even when you want to separate yourself from stuff that you're permitted to do, it separates you, makes you holy. So you separate yourself from things that even though Torah permits you, and you make a promise, you're going to stop yourself from this stuff. It's a good thing. Kaddish, you sanctify yourself, even things are permissible. Having said that, we find another place in Torah, in the Talmud, the Jerusalem Talmud, and rebukes a person who makes a promise and says, not enough, the Torah prohibits you. You want to add new things? Torah says so many things you're not allowed to do. Why are you adding? Why are you adding more things? Why are you making it more difficult? Torah says so many things Torah says you shouldn't do. Why are you Why are you adding more things to the list? Right? So we have kind of two different ways. One hand, we say it's a good thing to make a promise. On the other hand, we rebuked if you make a promise. It's a negative thing. You're not enough to your Torah prohibits you. You're adding yourself more stuff, making your life more difficult for yourself. What are you doing? Right? So, what's the explanation? The explanation is that depends. As we say, depends what we're talking about. Which type of person we're talking about. If a person saw himself, he's falling into the dumps, into the low. He's falling. He's drifting, and he's falling away into negative stuff. He sees where his desires are taking him to, and he sees how he's falling. In that case, you need the extra stringency. You need to put then you do need to make a promise because you need to protect yourself. You see you're falling, you see you're vulnerable, and if you do all this, and the other, you might come to do something you shouldn't be doing. So there, you have to make an extra precaution, extra gate, extra fence. You want to fall, you want to slip. But someone who's on the right path anyway, he doesn't have these temptations, he doesn't have these difficult challenges. So for him, it's okay. So it depends who you're talking about. If it's a person who's vulnerable and he feels that he's falling and he needs extra protection, right? He shouldn't make a promise. This guy is okay and he's on the right path anyway, so then he doesn't need to make a promise. All right. So it really depends who we are talking about, and this concept also, you might ask a question general in history. Why is it as we're going down from generation to generation, we find more and more stringencies? In the second temple, there's many rabbinic prohibitions that we keep. I'll just tell you an example. All the muks on Shabbos, the laws of not touching things on Shabbos, many things the Torah permits, but the rabbis say we shouldn't do it. Muksa. When was that introduced? That was introduced to us during the second Beit HaMikdash, the second temple. Why? If our ancestors were okay, why did they didn't need it? So why do we need it? They were okay without it. And the answer is, as we said before, during the first temple, there was more holiness. There was more kedusha, more holiness around. So a person will not fall. We're not concerned. A person will be connected more to above. More holiness. The Beit HaMikdash, the first temple, the kedusha was much holier than the second. There were miracles happening. There were certain things that didn't happen in the second Beit HaMikdash. There were 5 things that were hidden in the second temple. We didn't have the ark. We didn't have the breastplate was not working. Didn't respond in holy Ruach HaKodesh. We stopped having prophets. Many things changed since we weren't so holy. We were more falling down. We needed more protection. Like going on a cliff, you're going on a bridge. You're gonna put a gate. Why are you gonna gate? You're afraid it might fall off. You're walking down the street. A normal sidewalk. You don't use a regular sidewalk. You don't have a gate there. I'm not talking about the highway. A regular. You're not worried. Why do you have a gate on the bridge? The bridge you do have a gate, and a regular sidewalk you don't have a gate. What's the difference? A big difference. If you fall off you might slip off the bridge. You're putting your life in danger, right? But when you're talking about a sidewalk, it's okay. You're not falling on the street. You're not falling on a river, on the sea, on a highway below. The point is that the more dark you are, the more protection he needs. Okay, the more protection a person needs, because the more danger, the more vulnerable a person is, right? The more protection you need. And therefore, as we go, darker we've come. The more and dark, more dark. Therefore, in every generation, many generations, the rabbis have added more stringencies, not to make our life more difficult, to make us more protected, right? Certain places you need a glove. I know you're going to it's very very cold in the winter, and you tell the kids to put on gloves and coats and boots and I don't know all the mask, and the kid might, hey, why are you giving me all these difficulties? Why I don't want to wear all this stuff. Why tell me to wear the coats and the gloves and the hat and the? I don't want to be free. I want to go out regular clothes. No, I want to go like the summertime. Okay. Why is a parent telling the child to wear all these extra garments? Obviously, it's good love. They care about it, and they know it's dangerous. You get frostbite. You have to be careful. It's the more dangerous, the more vulnerable out there, the more protection you need. So, same thing in the spiritual sense. The more stuff is out there, the more garbage that's available that that can affect us, right? The more protection we need, and therefore now we need even more protection. The more more accessible that we have to all the darkness out there, the more holiness, the more kedusha, the more holiness we need to be connected to. So this is the idea of a promise, of an oath, and why, right? And what's the idea of the why today? Let's just recap why we actually have a idea of making a promise, and why now, and that explains why in our generations we need more stringencies than before. Okay, who has? Then we said we have the ability, right, to right. We have the ability to actually take away the promise. Who can do that? Someone who's above the person, someone who's higher, is able to take to basically to they can tell you that they can take away your promise, meaning they can help you that even in a situation where you think you need protection, you can be protected. They'll take care of you. And that is like the father, because everything the child the father owns, or the wife is under, so to say, under the whatever, under the, I won't say authority. Well, that's not the right good word, but under the husband, like kind of the wife belongs to the husband, and that's in this sense of what we're talking about over here. So he has the ability to take away the promise, or a great rabbi, higher. And we talk about a rabbi here, not just any rabbi. Actually, some commentator, some authorities hold has to be someone who's ordained from all the way back to Moses. He was ordained by someone who was ordained by someone who ordained by someone all the way back to Moshe, right? Or based in which has the kedusha of Hashem's in the basin. They have the authority, they have the ability to take away a promise, basically even if you're going to help you, even if when you if you made a promise because you're afraid or whatever, you want to protect yourself, they have the ability to help you. That even if you don't have the promise, you should be still okay. Okay, now, this all what we said till now, okay, is is connected also to our time, this time of the year. What time of the year we're in now? We're in now the month of Av. Well, sorry, excuse me. We're benching this Shabbos. We're going to bless the month of Av. Okay, the 3-week period. What's the 3-week period? We're in the 3-week mourning period, which is the time when the Beit Hamikdash, the temple was destroyed. Okay, 17th of Tammuz, they actually surrounded, which was last week. The last second Beit Hamikdash, the Romans breached the wall of Yerushalayim, right? And then they breached the wall, and then on the 9th of Tisha B'Av, they actually destroyed the temple. Okay, now Rosh Chodesh, or the beginning of the month of Av, which is going to be next Wednesday, actually, next week, is when the suffering came a lot worse. And therefore, there's many laws of mourning and restrictions that we have because we're mourning the destruction of the temple. So this is the month of. Now, when Av enters, the Mishnah says, actually Talmud says, and the Halacha says, that when Av enters, we have to decrease in Simcha. We have to decrease. It's a time of mourning. When Adar enters, we have to increase in Simcha, in joy. When the month of enters, we have to decrease in joy, in happiness. Kind of it seems like not a good thing. Now, the month of Av is also called, we can call that Menachem Av. Okay, Menachem means consoling of. Okay, now if someone writes, doesn't write off, and he writes on a document, and he writes just the word Menachem, is that considered a kosher contract? For example, and this is very, very important, the person writes a get, a divorce, okay? Everything on the get divorce has to be clear. If anything is mistaken, not mistake on there, a real mistake, the get can be disqualified. That means the woman cannot get married to another man. If it's a non-kosher get, and he got a non-kosher get, there's really serious issues, really serious business over here. The get has to be exact, perfect. So, if you wrote Menachem and not Av, just wrote Menachem, console, it's still a kosher get. It's a kosher document. Why? Because everybody knows that Menachem, that month, Menachem refers to the month of Av. So it's not considered a mistake. Right? It's not considered incorrect. Put it that way. So, so you have here, now, so you have Av, you have idea of the name of the month, which is seemingly negative, as we said earlier. Av comes morning. You have Menachem, consoling of. Oh God, it's kind of a good thing. Then you have the idea of the Father. It says in the prophets for that God is going to have mercy. The Father has mercy on the children. And then you have, so God says, just like a father has mercy on his children, you want God to have mercy on us. So, and the mother it says in the prophets that just like a mother consoles her children, the same thing I'm going to console you. God says. So God's like the father and the mother. But God says, I'm going to be like the father and the mother. I'm going to have mercy on you like the father, and console you like the mother. Okay? Now, so basically you have the three levels here. You have the father, which is idea of having mercy. Oh, sorry. Stop something too. The first thing is idea of a negative. It's not a good thing. It's a sad month structure. Then you have the idea of which is a good thing. The Father, which is going to have mercy on us. And then you have the idea of the Mother that is going to console us. Now, what is the difference between consoling and having mercy? Well, when you say consoling, you console somebody. What does that mean? He had a sad time, something wrong, something negative happened. And you try to make him feel better. Right? You console the person. And then you told her even to accept it, you had a tragedy, and you said accept it with happiness, and he did. But the fact is, he's still missing something. Something negative happened, right? You feel the negative that happened to the person. Therefore, you can only console someone in the time of the morning, in the 7 days. If you console someone after the shiva, after the days when it's supposed to be, you can not only not help, you're going to give him pain, because now you're reminding him of the pain that he had. So the consoling is only in a certain time period, right? That's the idea of what's the idea of mercy? Mercy is that in such a way that the whole is nothing missing. You have mercy on the person. You take care of everything, like it says in Amida, God's gonna resurrect the dead with great mercy. So when you have the mercy of Hashem, of God, it's not like there is something negative, and you have to feel good. You have to feel good and feel happy, or you have to have a good attitude. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong there. Nothing. There's nothing missing. With God's mercy, everything is taken care of. So again, consoling is there's something missing, and you have to accept it and be happy. Whatever God did was for the good, and etc. etc. But there's something negative happened. Mercy is there's nothing wrong happened. The whole thing is cleared up. All the issue that was there that was negative is disappeared. Right? There's no reason to be sad anymore. Everything's taken care of. Okay, that's the idea of Hashem, the mercy from Hashem. Just to explain this idea, I'll give you a story. What's a story? There was the Baal Shem Tov, his disciple, his successor was a Mezrich Maggid. Okay, he's called a Dovber from Mezrich, and he wanted to teach a student how to accept suffering with happiness. So he had a student called Zusha Anipali. He was a very great tzaddik. Reb Zusha was a very poor person, very, very poor, and he had a lot of suffering. Financially, his life was in shambles, a real difficult life. And he goes and tells the chassid, told one of his his followers, go to Reb Zusha and learn from him how to accept suffering with happiness. Okay. He travels away to Anipali, goes to Reb Zusha, and he sees how poor he is, how difficult life he has. And he says, the Rebbe sent me to you to learn how to accept suffering with happiness. So Reb Zusha responded, I'm very surprised. I don't understand why the Rebbe sent you to me. I have no problems. I'm not missing anything. I don't feel I'm missing anything. I'm not missing anything. I'm very surprised that Rebbe, he didn't even feel, all the suffering he had, he didn't even feel that he's missing. He didn't even, with all the poverty and all the, for him, it wasn't, he didn't even feel that it's something wrong. It's something negative. All right. So now, so he basically accepted everything he did as financially it was terrible, but everything he had was in simcha. He accepted everything with joy and in such a manner that he didn't even feel he was missing anything. Okay, okay. So now, what's by us? Hashem will give us such a consolement. Hashem will with such mercy that all the suffering we will fill up everything, all the difficulties and all the challenges and all this financial, all the sorrows, all the suffering that we have will have mercy and everything will be taken care of. Okay, so now, if that's the case, So why would God need to give us if God's going to fill us in such a way that God will have mercy on us in such a way that everything will be completed? Why does God have to console us? Let God just have mercy on us, everything be taken care of. Why does he need to console us at all? Mercy is a much greater level, right? So why does God need to console us at all altogether? And the explanation the Rebbe says over here, very interesting. The Rebbe says that there is a world down here. We're in a physical world. We're in a material physical world. So yes, in this world there is things that are missing. There is. The person might have this missing, that missing, the other thing missing. Things are not the way it should be. So it was what Hashem to bring Kedusha, bring the holiness, bring the mercy of Hashem in such a way that even in this physical, mundane world will feel Hashem's consolation, will be taken care of completely. So in this physical world that we're that we need to be consoled, God will give us such a mercy that everything will be taken care of. So on one hand, God consoled us because we're in a physical, material world. On the other hand, I'll be in such a way that He'll have mercy on us that everything will be completed. So I hope you enjoy the class, and hope to see you next time, God willing. Be well. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.